Good morning. My name is Lieutenant Catherine Cummings, K-A-T-H-A-R-I-N-E-C-U-M-M-I-N-G-S. This morning I'm joined with Stamford Police Chief Timothy Shaw, Stamford Mayor Caroline Simmons, Stamford Assistant Police Chief Silas Redd, and Stamford Assistant Police Chief Richard Conklin. First and foremost, I want to say on behalf of Colonel Malikas and Commissioner Ravella and the entire Connecticut State Police family, we are truly sorry for the loss of Reverend Jackson. We know that his family and the entire Stamford community are grieving, and we extend our deepest condolences. On Wednesday, July 26, 2023, at approximately 4:12 p.m., Stamford Police Officer Zachary Lockwood was traveling eastbound on Wire Mill Road in the city of Stamford. Officer Lockwood was operating a marked Stamford Police patrol vehicle and was responding to an unrelated motor vehicle accident in town. Preliminary reports indicate that the emergency lights were activated at that time in the police cruiser. The police cruiser struck a pedestrian, later identified as Reverend Tommy Jackson, in the area of 458 Wire Mill Road. Officer Lockwood attempted life-saving measures on Reverend Jackson on scene until medics arrived and he was transported to Stamford Hospital, where Reverend Jackson succumbed to his injuries. On late Wednesday afternoon, the Stamford State's Attorney Office requested the Connecticut State Police assist in the investigation of this collision, which is customary for this type of investigation. Members of the Connecticut State Police, Western District Major Crime Squad, and the Connecticut State Police Collision Analysis and Reconstruction Squad responded to the scene and are currently leading the investigation. These units will work in collaboration and in conjunction with Stamford Police Department over the upcoming weeks to complete a thorough and accurate investigation. Investigative steps moving forward include, but are not limited to, collection and analysis of evidence from the scene, a review of all police audio and video recordings of the incident, and a complete reconstruction analysis of the collision. It should be noted that Officer Lockwood was also transported to the hospital for evaluation, has been released, and is currently on paid administrative leave, as is a customary protocol for this type of incident. Officer Lockwood has been employed with Stamford Police Department since April of 2022. Officer Lockwood has been offered and is receiving peer support through the Stamford Police Department. Due to the fact that this is an active and ongoing investigation, information today will be limited at this time as to not jeopardize the integrity of this investigation. Next up, I would like to call up Stamford Police Chief Timothy Shaw to say a few words.
Thank you. Chief Timothy Shaw, Timothy Shaw. On behalf of the men and women of the Stamford Police Department, I wish to convey my deepest condolences to Police Commissioner Dory Jackson and the rest of the family of Reverend Jackson. Reverend Jackson was a vital member of the Stamford community, and the entire city feels the impact of his passing. I want to assure the people of Stamford that your department has worked and will continue to work alongside the State Police and the State's Attorney's Office to determine what happened on Wednesday afternoon. As your police chief, I remain committed to the well-being and safety of all Stamford citizens. All of us want answers as to what occurred this week. I know that the expertise of the State Police Major Crimes and Collision Reconstruction teams will result in answers to our questions. As we grieve the death of Reverend Jackson, I ask our residents to be patient as the investigation continues. I know that these types of investigations may take time, and I know that all of us look forward to learning about how events unfolded. Our community is shaken due to this tragic accident. Commissioner Jackson and her family, Officer Lockwood and his family, and the Stamford community as a whole. I ask that we continue to support each of these families as we see this process through. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next up, we would like to ask Mayor Caroline Simmons to say a few words.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Good morning. This is Mayor Caroline Simmons, C-A-R-O-L-I-N-E-S-I-M-M-O-N-S. Our city has been hit by an unimaginable tragedy over the past 48 hours, and we are all grieving and mourning the tragic loss of Reverend Tommy Jackson, who was a beloved member of our faith community, someone who touched the lives of so many through his work as a pastor at Rehoboth Fellowship Church and Faith Tabernacle. He also was a beloved member of our City of Stamford family, serving as Assistant Director of the Urban Redevelopment Commission, and worked very closely with so many in our city who are mourning his loss. He was a larger-than-life figure, someone who had an indelible impact on our community, and someone who touched the lives of so many through his lifelong commitment to faith and public service. We're all mourning together, and I know I'm going to greatly miss his infectious smile, his energy, his wonderful sense of humor. And on behalf of the entire city, I want to extend my deepest condolences and sympathies to the entire Jackson family during this difficult time. In particular to Reverend Jackson's wife, Dory Jackson, who honorably serves as a police commissioner in the city of Stamford, as well as his daughters, Evan and Aaron. We are here to provide all the support we can. My office is committed to helping ensure city employees and community members who are grieving get the support that they need during this difficult time. And finally, I also want to extend my sympathies to Officer Lockwood, and our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family during this difficult time. And to close, I'd like to thank the cooperation of the Connecticut State Police and our state's attorney's office for ensuring that this process is committed to transparency and integrity. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Lastly, I would like to ask Stamford Assistant Chief Silas Redd to share a final few words.
Good morning. Assistant Chief Silas Redd, S-I-L-A-S-R-E-D-D. The reverberations of Wednesday's tragic event has our Stamford community in a state of shock, disbelief, and many are saddened and heartbroken. Pastor Jackson was such a beacon of light to so many in this multicultural community for the past 25 years. His steadfast commitment to serve those under his guidance of his pastorate extended far and wide, and he was oftentimes a voice for the voiceless. Pastor Jackson was a friend and partner to us here at the Stamford Police Department, and the time that we were able to spend with him will be forever cherished. From a personal standpoint, under the pastorship of Pastor Jackson, many family members and friends have had christenings, marriages, and homegoing services performed, and always done with dignity and professionalism. In the days, weeks, and months ahead, I ask that Pastor Jackson's family, his church family, Officer Lockwood, and his family be afforded privacy as they grieve and navigate through these most difficult times. I further ask that we keep the respective families lifted up in our thoughts and prayers, praying for their strength, comfort, and healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Chief Redd. This is all of the information that we can provide at this time. Since this investigation is active, ongoing, and still in its infancy stage, we thank you all for coming.